Good morning, friends. In today's class, we'll of managing change in organization, we'll deal with conflict resolution. In the last two classes, we have been discussing what are the various ways in which the conflict can be resolved. In today's class, we'll understand what are the other measures of handling intergroup and interpersonal conflict. So, before moving forward, let us first try to understand what we have read in the last two classes. We'll do a little bit of a recap and then we will move forward with the conflict resolution topic. In the last two classes, we have tried to understand what is conflict resolution. Okay, and if you look in diagram, this is the diagram which we have been using. In the diagram, we can see on one side we have cooperativeness and other times we have assertiveness. And these are the five conflict handling methods or conflict handling intentions which can be used to resolve a conflict. In each of the conflict handling situations, we have understood what are the appropriate situations in which that conflict handling situation can be used. We have also understood what are the advantages and disadvantages of each and every conflict handling situations. Just we'll try to recap the headings of the conflict handling methods so that you will have a clear understanding and we can move forward. Okay, so what happens in competing? In competing, there is a desire to satisfy one's own interest regardless of the impact on the other party to the conflict. Here we are interested to satisfy our own goal, our own agenda without thinking without thinking of the impact it will put on the other party to the conflict. It includes the desire to achieve one's own goal at the cost of another's goal or another person's or another group's goal. Then, if we see collaborating is a situation in which the parties to a conflict each desire to satisfy fully the concerns of all parties. So here we are interested in finding a win-win situation for the group or in between individuals. We try to find a win-win situation. What happens in avoiding? In avoiding, there is a desire to withdraw or suppress a conflict once it is recognized. Once we recognize that there is a conflict, we try to move away from the conflict or avoid the conflict. This is also one of the way of handling the conflict. Then coming to accommodating. What is accommodating? Accommodating refers to the willingness of one party in a conflict to place the opponent's interests above his or her own. It means it includes the sacrificing of one's own goals to maintain the other party's goals. Here we try to accommodate the other parties of goals over our goals. Okay, and finally there is compromising. Compromising is a situation in which each party to the conflict is ready to sacrifice or give up something in order to resolve the conflict. So there is no clear winner or loser in this. It's a way of finding a middle path to resolve the conflict. So these are the main five conflict handling situations that we have discussed in the past two classes. Here it should be noted that these conflict handling methods, strategies or ways are common to both intergroup and interpersonal conflict. And we will try to understand now, apart from these five, what are the other measures available for the intergroup and the interpersonal conflict by which the conflict can be resolved. First, we'll start with other measures for handling intergroup conflict. When a conflict occurs between groups, so apart from the five conflicting handling situations or strategies or methods we have studied earlier, these are can also be used in order to handle or maintain or minimize the intergroup conflict. What are that? We'll read one by one. First point is superordinate goal. Superordinate goal reduces the conflict between departments. Okay, superordinate goals, it reduces the conflict between groups or departments. So what is a superordinate goal? Superordinate goal refers to the common goals that two or more conflicting parties each desire and that cannot be reached without the cooperation of all the parties that are involved in the conflict. So it is something, is a common goal which requires the support and the cooperation of all the conflicting parties. So it is a common goal that will bind the conflicting parties. They'll try to cooperate and bind each other. They will try to move away from conflict when they have a superordinate goal. These goals must be highly valued, because if it are not highly valued, then they will not try to uh, resolve the conflict. So it's something, it must be highly valued. Again, unattainable without the help of all the parties involved in the conflict. Also, all the parties involved in the conflict should come together in order to achieve this goal. So, in order to achieve this goal, since all the parties come together, they resolve the conflict first. Then only they can come together, then only they can be operating in a cohesive manner in order to achieve this superordinate goal. And it should be remembered that superordinate goal covers a conflict between the groups and departments. Okay, and how does it do it? It leads to uh, this friendly interactions, develops favorable conditions or attitudes, and also seeks to achieve solutions that are mutually satisfactory. So the superordinate goal is nothing but a goal, a common goal which binds the conflicting parties together. In order to achieve that superordinate goal, the parties to the conflict, they'll try to resolve the conflict, okay, and they'll try to achieve this superordinate goal. So this is one of the ways of handling the intergroup conflict. Now, the second thing, what can be done, what are the other measures available for handling this intergroup conflict is reduction or reduce the interdependence between the groups. Reducing interdependence between different groups by physical separation of conflicting units can reduce the occurrence of conflicts. What happens? Sometimes there is interdependency between different groups or departments. So this interdependency creates conflicts. Okay. Interdependence is considered one of the major causes of conflict in an organization. But reducing this interdependence between groups by physical separation, so physically you will separate both the conflicting parties or the groups and can reduce the occurrence of the conflict. The other option could also be to make the two units completely or totally independent of one another, to remove any kind of interdependence among them. If we find that interdependence is causing a lot of problems and conflicts, we'll altogether remove the cause of conflict, that is interdependence. We'll make the two groups mutually and totally independent of one another. So this is also one of way of handling intergroup conflict. Then another way of handling intergroup conflict is mediation. Mediation means what? It is an appointment of a full-time arbitrator or mediator to sort out the differences between the conflicting groups. Here we appoint a arbitrator or a mediator to sort out the differences between the conflicting parties. Okay, creating conflict resolution procedures like this will help to reduce the conflict. And this mediator is a third party and he assists to negotiate the settlement. In some cases, mediator also express a view on what might be a fair or a reasonable settlement where all the parties agree with the mediator. So the mediator is person who tries to settle the differences between the conflicting parties. He is a fair and a reasonable person. He is supporting neither of the conflicting parties and he tries to settle the he tries to create the resolution of conflict between the conflicting parties. So mediation is also one of the ways which can be used to remove or reduce the intergroup conflict. Apart from mediation, another thing that can be used is expansion of resources. Reducing the sharing of resources reduces conflict between groups and departments. What happens? Generally, the resources that is available for an organization are very scarce. And since the resources are very scarce, there is sharing of resources. You cannot have different independent resources for different independent units or groups. So what happens? There is sharing of resources. So if we try to expand those resources, if we try to reduce the sharing of resources, then there are chances that the conflict arising due to the sharing of resources will be removed. Okay. So what happens? Conflict will generally occur whenever the needs and wants of two or more parties are greater than the resource available for allocation. Okay, so if we reduce this sharing of resources, then it will be helpful in solving the problem, in solving the conflict or resolving the conflict. Okay. Apart from this expansion of resources, there is another method that is altering the structural variable. Altering the structural variable. When we say altering the structural variable, it means a lot of things. We make changes in the structure of the organization so that the conflict can be removed. And how we can make these changes in the structure of the organization? By hiring or transferring of individuals from the one group to another. We will try to hire new people or transfer of individuals, which will result in change, different attitude, values, background. This will differ in the group. So the conflict will reduce. This can also be accomplished, the structural variable change can also be accomplished by exchanging group members, creating or coordinating positions. We have to create new positions or coordinate different positions, developing an appeal system. Certain appeal system has to be in place, expansion of the boundaries of the group or the organization, or we try to expand the boundaries of the group or the organization. So in this way, if we make these changes in the structural variable, so this will also help in reducing or handling the intergroup conflict. Apart from altering the structural variables, we can also alter the human variable. Human variable is nothing but the human resources used in the organization. So what is done? This is not very easy to do. This is very difficult to achieve. But the goal is to change the behavior of the conflicting parties. Here our aim is to see that the behavior or the conduct of the people who are in conflict or the parties who are in conflict has to be changed. Okay, and this is not a very easy task. It has a dual potential effect of alleviating the sources of the conflict or and ending the conflict itself. It will not only alleviate the sources of conflict, also it will help in ending the conflict itself because the behavior of the people is changed. The people are no more interested to engage in continuous conflict or fight. So altering of the human variable will be very, very beneficial. This is achieved through human relations training, sensitivity training, awareness training, and sometimes third party is usually involved in the training process. So if we undergo training for all the human resources, this sensitivity awareness training, human relations training, this will help in changing or altering the human variable. So once the human variable is altered, it will lead to less conflict. Not only it will alleviate the sources of conflict, but it also result in the complete ending of the conflict itself. Apart from this, another way of resolving intergroup conflict is increase interactions. If people interact with each other, they develop better understanding. And if there is better understanding, there are chances that they will understand each other's position, each other's views, and they'll try to resolve the conflict. Organizations should provide more opportunities to the employees in subunits or groups to interact with each other. Okay, this is very important because when they interact, it not only helps to develop better understanding, but it also helps to understand how the each other or the different conflicting parties are functioning, also discover the common interest, problems, and priorities. So we'll get a better understanding of the conflicting party, their interests, their problems, their priorities, the way they function. Since we have the better understanding, we will be able to empathetically understand the situation and try to resolve the conflict. Finally, we can use another method of handling this intergroup conflict, that is authoritative command. Authoritative command is nothing but a superior person in the organization who has authoritative command. This superior has to take the role of a arbitrator or integrator. This authoritative post will try to resolve the conflict by taking a arbitrator or integrator role. These roles has to be done by this authoritative command. When two groups are conflicting with each other, the top management, generally the top management has the authoritative command. The top management can use authority to resolve the conflict. Okay, it will use its authority to resolve the conflict. It is very successful achieving short-term reduced levels of conflict. So in the short term, it is really helpful to reduce the levels of conflict. Here, he will play the role of an arbitrator and mediator and integrator. And since he has the authority, the once the top management has the final word, nobody argues and the conflict is resolved. So these are the ways in which the intergroup conflict can be handled. Apart from the five conflict handling situations that we have discussed above previous classes, these also are the other measures in which can be intergroup conflict can be resolved. Now we'll understand what are the other measures of handling interpersonal conflict. Okay, other measures for handling interpersonal conflict. In this, if the question comes like what are the ways in which interpersonal conflict can be handled, here also we have to understand write the first five conflict handling situations, that is competing, collaborating, compromising, avoiding, accommodating, and then we will add the other measures of handling interpersonal conflict. So this will make our answer much more concrete. Okay, so conflicts are likely to occur in the workplace. It's nothing that we can remove the occurrence of conflict. If an organization is there will be conflicts. But there are ways in which we can handle this interpersonal conflict. What are the ways? We'll discuss one by one. The first way of handling the interpersonal conflict is talk it out. You need to talk with your opponent, or you talk with the other person, with other individual with whom you are having a conflict. Understanding your co-worker's point of view reduces conflict between individuals. If you understand the co-worker's point of view, or a person with whom you are having a fighting or a conflict, if you understand his point of view, it will reduce the conflict between individuals, because now you are understanding what the other person's opinions are, what his viewpoint are. Without without talking it out, it is very difficult, because once you are in a talking mode, then you are able to understand the other person's opinion and viewpoint. Makes you to sit face to face with the person and keep the conversation goal oriented. This is very important. You have to sit face to face with the conflicting individual with whom you are having a conflict, and keep the conversation goal oriented. What is means when we say keep the conversation goal oriented? We should stick with the goal, that is the resolution of conflict. We should not meander from it and indulge in personalizing the conflict more. We have to sit together, we have to be having this objective in mind that we need to resolve this interpersonal conflict. So we'll sit together face to face, understand each other's point of view, opinions, and try to resolve the conflict. This is one of the way of resolving the conflict. The second way of resolving this interpersonal conflict is practice active listening. Listen to what the other person has to say without interrupting. This is something which is not generally followed. We are generally passive listeners. We don't actively listen to what the other party says. So this is one of the major reasons of conflict, interpersonal conflict. So listen to what the other person has to say without interrupting. This not only displays empathy, but also helps you to get to the root of the problem or issue. So when you use this active listening skill and you listen to the other party very consciously, okay, and very empathetically, you will be able to understand the root of the issue. Okay, ask questions to clarify your understanding of the concern and also help in understanding the point of view of the other person. Active listening involves gathering information from what you hear that can be applied later to the conversation. Okay, so this is very important to understand. Why active listening is required? Active listening helps in understanding or to gather information, understanding the point of view of the other person, of the person with whom you are having a conflict, and also to use to gather information which can be used later in the conversation. This is an essential skill for painless conflict resolution. If you use this skill, the conflict can be reduced, the conflict can be removed without causing any pain, and it can be easily handled, this interpersonal conflict, if we use active listening. Then comes another method of handling interpersonal conflict, that is display empathy. What is empathy? Empathy means you keep yourself in the shoes of the other person, the person with whom you are having the conflict, and try to understand his opinions, viewpoint, thought process, and agenda. So, displaying empathy will reduce conflict between individuals. Recognizing your co-workers or your the person with whom you are having a conflict, the concerns, and attentively listening to their frustrations is a good way of displaying empathy and show care. It is very important. Why we want to show empathy? We want to show that we understand the conflicting individuals' viewpoints. We try to understand where the person comes from and what are the concerns of the person and what are the frustrations of the persons, and we also show that we care for the other person. So this is very important. It is important to understand the feelings and actions in order to encourage honesty and avoid future conflict. Why empathy is also required? Because empathy helps us to understand the feelings of the other person, person with whom we are having the conflict, and also encourages in honesty and avoids future conflict. Because now, since you are empathetic to the other person, you are trying to understand what the other person is going through and try to show care to that person and understand their feelings. So they open up, they become honest with you, and this will avoid not only resolve the conflict in hand, but also avoid future conflicts, future interpersonal conflicts. Then finally, then another point for handling this conflict, interpersonal conflict, is Don't hold grudges. Okay, when we hold grudges, then we don't let go of grudges, then it will be creating problems. Letting go of grudges will reduce the conflict between individuals. With multiple personalities working in the workplace, it is important to accept what is, forgive, and move on from it. So once you understand there is a conflict, you try to forgive and move on from it. Grudges can be nasty things, and they make it hard to find a common ground. When you have a grudge over any person with whom you are having conflict, you are completely unaware about the other person's uh, feelings, other person's concerns, other person's opinions, and you cannot find a common ground if you keep on holding to grudges. Letting go of grudges will allow you to focus on the positive in the future and keep focus on the job. So if you having this letting go of grudges, it will help in having a positive impact on you, and you will be able to understand the other persons more. You will be able to find a common ground, and you will be easily resolve this interpersonal conflict. So this is one of the ways of handling interpersonal conflict. What are the other ways? The other ways is working on your communication skills. This is something even if we know, we don't use. Okay, so we have to work on the communication skills. Communication skills are vital and help in reducing conflict between individuals. The ability, when we say communication skill, it means the ability to express yourself clearly, to say what's on your mind, and to ask what you want and need to get your point across. All this comes under communication. What? It is the ability to express yourself clearly. Also, to express what is on your mind, what is going on in your mind. What do you want? What are your needs? And to get the point across to the other individual, communication is required. There are several methods of improving your communication skills. Okay, some methods include staying on topic, being mindful of body language, and maintaining eye contact. Okay, so these are very important three things. First, you have to stay on topic. You should not deviate from the topic of the discussion. Then only you will be able to handle the interpersonal conflict in a more uh, proper way. You have to be mindful of the body language, because if you are not able to gauge or understand the body language of the person with whom you are having a conflict, it becomes very difficult to resolve the conflict. And also, you have to maintain eye contact with that person. When you are maintaining eye contact, this shows to the other person that you are interested in the topic, that you are interested in resolving the conflict, interpersonal conflict, and it builds trust in the other person's mind. So that person will be interested in resolving the conflict. Also, you have to, as we have discussed, practice active listening. This will also improve the communication skills. So in this way, we can improve our work, the communication skills, and these communication skills will help us to understand the other persons better with whom we are having the conflict, and help to resolve the conflict in a more proper way. Another way of handling interpersonal conflict is using a mediator if necessary. A mediator can remain objective, listen to both parties, and facilitate a resolution. A mediator can remain objective. That means he will stay on the point, listen to both the parties, and help in the facilitating the resolution of the conflict. If a situation is a particularly volatile or troublesome, if the situation is something that both the parties are very volatile and into aggressive behavior and troublesome, and other efforts have not worked, you might invite a neutral third party or a mediator, such as a supervisor, is a person of authority, to act as a mediator if this is agreeable to both of the individuals, both of the parties to the conflict are both individuals. So the medials will be able to, he can be objective, listen to both parties and facilitate a resolution or a compromise. Be firm on your objectives. You are there to resolve the conflict, not defeat the opponent. So we have to be very objective while going through the mediation process. We have to remain objective and not to deviate from the topic. Here our aim is to resolve the conflict and not to completely defeat the opponent. Okay, and then comes another way of handling interpersonal conflict is discuss and evaluate possible solutions. When we discuss and evaluate possible solution, then it will lead to reduction in the conflict between individuals. Talking over the alternatives in a neutral and objective way helps both parties to see the pros and cons of different ways of thinking. When you are neutral and objective, this helps both the parties to understand what are the pros and cons, okay, advantages and disadvantages of the different ways of thinking. This is where assertiveness and active listening skills come to the forefront. Here you have to be assertive and also you have to actively listen in order to understand the situation and try to evaluate and get possible or feasible solutions to the problem. This will help in reducing conflict between individuals. And finally, developing an agreement satisfying all. An agreement can be reached that everyone involved is happy with. It is possible to have an agreement where all the parties to the conflict, the individuals, they will be satisfied with the end result. The issue must be resolved to the full satisfaction of all parties involved. Then only we can say that the interpersonal conflict has been handled in a proper way. The If one person feels that he or she has been cheated out of their deserved resolution, they will continue to cause conflict, making the situation even more complicated. When one party feels that they have been deceived, that their goal has been deceived and the other party has cheated them, then what they'll feel, they'll try to continue the conflict. They'll not resolve the conflict anymore. They'll try to enter into the conflict. They'll maybe try to escalate the conflict, making the situation even more complicated. So if the problem cannot be fully solved, then an agreement must be reached that everyone involved is happy with. If a complete resolution is not possible, we'll try to find an agreement or a compromise that will help to resolve the conflict or at least make the conflicting parties, the conflicting individuals, to be happy with the agreement they have reached. Okay, so these are the ways in which we can handle the interpersonal conflict. So if a question comes, what are the ways of handling intergroup conflict, we can first mention the 5 conflict handling situation, and then we have to mention the other measures that we have studied today. Similarly, when the question comes for what are the ways of managing or handling interpersonal conflict, we'll first write the 5 conflict handling situations or strategies we have understood in the previous classes, and then add to that the other measures of handling interpersonal conflict. Okay, thank you for your attention. Go through the whatever notes I'm sending you digitally. If you have any problems, get back to me. No need to panic. Stay at home. Thank you.